We live in a world where attractiveness is often measured in inches, pounds, likes, or filters. The culture around us whispers a message that beauty must be proven, displayed, or certified by someone else's opinion. But let's pause here, because true attractiveness is not about how you fit into someone else's standard. It's about how you show up in your own skin. And I want to remind you of 12 quiet, unspoken signs that you are far more attractive than you may believe. The first sign is that people feel safe opening up to you. Have you noticed that strangers tell you their life stories while you're waiting in line? Or that friends call you not just when they want to celebrate, but when their heart is breaking? That is not random. That is not ordinary. That's a sign of warmth, and warmth is one of the deepest forms of beauty. The second sign is that you laugh with your whole body. Not the polite, half-hidden chuckle we reserve for formality, but the kind of laugh that fills a room, even if you cover your mouth or turn away. Joy is magnetic. People want to be near those who can find joy in ordinary places. That's attractiveness, alive and breathing. Third, you care. You notice when someone is quiet in a room full of noise. You pick up on the shift in tone when someone says, "I'm fine," but you know they're not. Compassion is one of the most attractive qualities in the human spirit. It can't be bought, bottled, or faked. It's something you carry naturally. Fourth, you own your quirks. Maybe you have a peculiar laugh, a strange way of telling stories, or a collection of unusual hobbies. What you think makes you weird is often what makes you magnetic. People don't fall in love with perfection. They fall in love with the details that no one else has. Fifth, your presence changes the energy in the room. You walk in and people straighten a little, smile a little wider, or breathe a little easier. You may not notice it, but others do. That shift is a reflection of how your spirit carries weight, positive weight, that others feel drawn to. Sixth, people copy you without realizing it. Maybe they start saying your phrases, dressing a little like you, or picking up your habits. That's a sign that your energy inspires imitation, and that is attraction in action. Seventh, you make eye contact and hold it, even if it feels vulnerable. True connection requires courage, and the courage to really see another person, to really let them see you, is incredibly attractive. Eighth, you're passionate, not just about romance or career, but about anything. Your music, your garden, your dog, your faith, your morning coffee ritual. Passion lights people up. It tells the world that you're alive, engaged, and worth paying attention to. Ninth, you are comfortable being alone. That doesn't mean loneliness never touches you. It means you don't need a crowd to validate your worth. That self-trust, that groundedness, is irresistible because it whispers, "I am enough." 10th, you are resilient. Life has knocked you down, but you have stood back up again. Scars and resilience tell a story of strength, and strength is breathtakingly beautiful, even if you don't see it in the mirror. 11th, people seek your advice, not because you have all the answers, but because you listen without judgment. Attractiveness is not just being looked at, it's being looked for. People look for you when they need wisdom, perspective, or simply your presence. And finally, 12th, you show up as yourself. You may not feel flawless, you may not feel enough, but you continue to walk into the world in your skin, with your laugh, your scars, your quirks, your truth. That is one of the bravest and most attractive things any human can do. So tonight, I want you to remember this. Being attractive is not about being flawless. It's about being real. The world does not need another perfectly curated version of beauty. What the world needs is you, fully present, imperfectly human, and unashamedly alive. When we think of attractiveness, the first image that often comes to mind is physical appearance. Symmetry, height, body type, the shape of someone's face, or the way they dress. We are conditioned, almost from childhood, to measure worth and beauty against these visible standards. magazines, films, and advertisements bombard us with curated images that whisper to us that if we just fixed our skin, lost some weight, or bought the right clothes, we would finally be beautiful, finally be seen. And yet, if we pause and reflect, we realize that the people we have been most deeply drawn to in life are rarely the most conventionally beautiful. They are the ones who made us feel something when they entered the room. They are the ones who seem to have a glow, an energy, a presence that lingered long after the conversation was over. That right there is a sign that attractiveness cannot be reduced to looks. It lives in presence, in the invisible yet undeniable aura we carry with us wherever we go. Presence is not about perfection. Presence is about being fully alive and attentive in the moment. Think about the times you've sat across from someone who is really listening to you. Not distracted, not rehearsing their next response, but truly listening. Their eyes don't dart around the room. Their body doesn't fidget with impatience. They lean in, their posture open, their face soft, and you can feel that you matter. That moment becomes magnetic. You feel valued. And because they have given you the gift of their presence, you associate them with warmth, connection, and safety. Without a word about their appearance, they have become more attractive in your eyes simply because they were present. There's a quiet confidence in presence. It is the kind of confidence that doesn't have to announce itself, that doesn't need to demand attention, because it already has it without trying. Think about a leader who walks into a room. They may not be the tallest, they may not wear the sharpest suit, they may not fit the cover of a glossy magazine, but there's something about them that makes people turn their heads. That something is not their jawline or hairstyle. It's their groundedness, their authenticity, their energy. You feel them before you fully see them, and that is what draws you in. Presence also shows up in vulnerability. We are taught that attractiveness must be paired with flawlessness, but we know deep down that flawlessness feels distant, untouchable, intimidating. The people who move us the most, the ones we want to be near, are the ones who are real. They admit they are nervous before a speech. They laugh at themselves when they forget someone's name. They are willing to say, "I don't know," instead of pretending to have all the answers. That raw honesty is disarming. It lowers the walls around us and allows us to breathe easier, because their presence gives us permission to be imperfect too. Vulnerability, then, becomes deeply attractive because it radiates truth. Another dimension of presence is the way we carry our bodies. Not the measurements of the body, not the numbers on a scale, but the way we inhabit ourselves. When you walk with shoulders back and head lifted, when your movements are aligned with self-respect, people notice. Not because you match a fashion model, but because you exude dignity. A person can be considered attractive simply because they have chosen to claim their space in the world unapologetically. Their presence speaks before their words do. They are saying without sound, "I belong here. I am enough." And others cannot help but be drawn to that kind of energy. Presence is also about stillness in a world that is restless. Imagine the difference between sitting with someone who is constantly checking their phone, rushing from one thought to another, versus sitting with someone who is fully there, whose calm is steady even when the room around them is loud. Stillness creates gravity. It pulls people in, it makes them feel anchored, it whispers to them that they can rest in your company. That kind of presence is rare, and because it is rare, it becomes irresistibly attractive. We mistake attractiveness for external packaging, but we know it when we feel it in presence. For instance, think of the times you've been in a crowded space and someone walked in and everyone turned to look. Maybe they weren't the most conventionally beautiful person in the room, but something about the way they carried themselves, the way they made eye contact, the way they smiled with sincerity made people notice. Presence cannot be hidden or silenced. It has a frequency that others can sense, even without conscious awareness. We may even describe it as chemistry or a good vibe, but what we are naming is presence. There's another layer to this, and it's courage. Presence requires the courage to show up authentically rather than performatively. Many people wear masks, shaping themselves into what they think others want to see. But masks are fragile, and people sense when you are hiding. The courage to be yourself, unedited, is an act of presence. That courage draws others because we are all longing for authenticity in a world of performance. And when we encounter it, when we meet someone whose inner life and outer expression align, we are moved by it. We find it beautiful. We find it attractive. Presence is contagious. When you are present, you invite others into presence too. Think about how someone's laughter can fill a room and loosen everyone else's guard, or how someone's calmness in a crisis can lower the collective anxiety of a group. That influence is not rooted in makeup, clothing, or appearance. It is rooted in spirit. Attractiveness is not just how people look at you. It's how people feel in your presence, and how they feel about themselves when you're around. And here's the paradox. Many people who radiate this kind of presence don't believe they are attractive. They dismiss compliments, they downplay their impact. They assume that because they don't match the glossy cultural standards, they are somehow invisible. But what they cannot see is the way their presence transforms rooms, conversations, and relationships. What they cannot see is the way they glow when they are listening with their whole heart, the way they shine when they are fully engaged in a passion, the way they soften the air around them when they offer kindness. They don't believe it, but others feel it. So when I say attractiveness isn't about looks but about presence, I am not suggesting that appearance doesn't matter at all. I am saying appearance alone cannot account for the power someone has to draw others toward them. Presence is deeper, subtler, more enduring. Looks may catch an eye, but presence holds it. Looks may draw initial attention, but presence is what people remember long after the face fades from memory. Presence is what makes someone linger in your thoughts when you're not even sure why. Presence is the root of true attractiveness, and it cannot be taken away by age, wrinkles, weight, or fashion. It grows stronger with authenticity, courage, and vulnerability. And the most beautiful part is that presence is available to all of us. That is why, even if you don't believe it, you are more attractive than you know. Not because of the shape of your body, but because of the light of your presence. And the moment you begin to honor that presence, to truly value it, you will begin to see what others have been seeing all along. Confidence is one of those words that people often misunderstand. We tend to imagine confidence as something loud and bold, as though it only belongs to people who walk into a room commanding attention, who speak without hesitation, or who always seem to know exactly what to do. But real confidence, the kind that makes someone deeply attractive, is not about grand gestures or flawless performance. It shows up in the smallest of things, often in ways that are almost invisible. And that kind of quiet confidence draws people in more powerfully than the loudest voice in the room. Think about the way someone holds eye contact, not in an intimidating or aggressive way, but in a way that says, "I see you, and I am not afraid to be seen by you." Eye contact is one of those subtle acts of confidence that doesn't need to be announced. Yet it creates an immediate connection. When someone looks directly at you steady and unhurried, it feels grounding. You sense that they are not trying to escape the moment, that they are not shrinking back from vulnerability. That simple act is far more magnetic than flashy clothing or perfect features, because it communicates self-assurance at a level deeper than words. Confidence also reveals itself in posture. It doesn't mean walking with arrogance or trying to take up all the space in a room. It simply means inhabiting your own body with dignity. Shoulders relaxed but not slumped, steps that are deliberate rather than rushed, movements that are unafraid to exist. These are the small physical cues that make people turn their heads without even realizing why. You don't have to say a word for others to notice that you carry yourself with quiet respect. And when you respect yourself enough to carry your body in this way, people are naturally drawn to you. But confidence in the small things isn't just about how you look or move. It's about how you respond to the uncertainties of life. Picture someone dropping a glass of water in a crowded restaurant. One person might panic, apologize profusely, and create a cloud of discomfort. Another might laugh lightly, clean it up with calmness, and carry on as though it were a minor inconvenience. That second response is a sign of confidence. It communicates, I am not undone by small mistakes. I can handle this. And that resilience, that ability to stay composed when things don't go perfectly, is profoundly attractive. People are drawn to those who don't unravel over the little things, because it reassures them that they, too, can breathe and relax in that person's company. Confidence is also found in the way you use your voice, not necessarily in volume, but in steadiness, speaking at a natural pace, not rushing to fill every silence, trusting that your words carry weight without needing to be exaggerated. This is what makes people lean in. Sometimes the most captivating person in a room is not the one who says the most, but the one who speaks with measured clarity, who isn't afraid of pauses, who trusts their own perspective enough to share it simply. That's confidence. It's not about overpowering others. It's about knowing your voice matters even without decoration. Even kindness can be an expression of confidence. Offering a compliment without expectation, helping someone without needing recognition, or showing patience when others are rushed, these are all small acts rooted in a sense of security. When you are confident, you don't see kindness as a risk to your status. You see it as a natural extension of who you are. And because so many people move through the world guarded, the simple act of being warm and generous becomes magnetic. Confidence whispers, I can afford to give because I know I am not diminished by giving. That is the kind of energy that people can't help but find attractive. There is also confidence in authenticity. In a conversation, a confident person doesn't need to pretend to know everything. They can say, I don't know, without shame. They can admit they're nervous or that they've made mistakes without collapsing into self-doubt. And that honesty is powerful. It makes others trust you because it signals that you are not wearing a mask. You are steady enough in yourself to admit imperfection. That willingness to be real, especially in a world that so often demands perfection, is a quiet but undeniable sign of confidence. And the more real you are, the more attractive you become, because people crave truth. Confidence in small things shows up in the way you listen, too. A person who constantly interrupts or rushes to prove their intelligence is often masking insecurity. But the one who listens fully, nods thoughtfully, asks questions, and responds with genuine curiosity. This is the person who radiates confidence. They don't need to dominate the conversation to prove their worth. They trust that their value isn't threatened by giving someone else the floor. And that calm assurance makes them magnetic. People feel seen by them, and that feeling is unforgettable. What's fascinating is that people who carry this quiet confidence often don't believe they are attractive. They tell themselves they're not bold enough, not stylish enough, not flawless enough to draw others in. But what they cannot see is that others are constantly noticing their small gestures. The way they smile sincerely, the way they take a breath before answering, the way they remain composed in the face of a mistake. Those subtle signals of steadiness are powerful markers of attractiveness, even if they never make the cover of a magazine. Confidence doesn't mean never feeling nervous. It doesn't mean never doubting yourself. It means moving forward anyway. It means ordering food without apologizing for your choice. It means holding your ground when you disagree, but doing so respectfully. It means walking into a meeting, a classroom, or a family gathering without shrinking into the corners, but also without needing to dominate. It's the middle ground, neither arrogance nor invisibility, that makes you magnetic. The truth is, confidence is deeply attractive because it creates safety. When you are around someone who is quietly confident, you feel calmer. You feel steadier. You don't have to second guess their reactions or walk on eggshells. Their steadiness allows you to relax, and that is one of the most beautiful gifts you can give another person. Looks might impress, but confidence comforts, and comfort is what makes people stay. So when you wonder if you are attractive, don't only look in the mirror. Notice the small things, the way you steady a room with your calm, the way you hold yourself with quiet dignity, the way you admit mistakes without collapsing, the way you listen without rushing. Those are the moments where your attractiveness shines. Confidence isn't always loud. In fact, the quietest expressions are often the strongest. And when you learn to recognize those subtle ways, you already show confidence. You'll begin to see that you are far more magnetic than you've ever believed. There is something undeniably powerful about kindness, though it is often underestimated. In a world that rewards sharpness, speed, and competition, kindness is sometimes dismissed as weakness, as softness, as something that belongs only to those who cannot stand firm. Yet the truth is exactly the opposite. Kindness is one of the strongest forces a human being can embody. And when it comes to attractiveness, kindness is magnetic in a way that beauty, style, or even charisma can never fully replicate. People may admire your appearance, they may be impressed by your achievements, but what they will remember, what they will carry with them long after the moment has passed, is how you made them feel. That is the work of kindness. Think about the times in your life when someone treated you with unexpected compassion. Maybe it was a stranger holding the door when your hands were full, or someone letting you go first in traffic when you were already late. Maybe it was a friend who noticed the sadness in your eyes and stayed with you quietly without needing to fix anything. These are not grand gestures. They are simple, human moments. But notice how they stay with us. Notice how we retell those stories when we describe someone as beautiful, not because of their looks, but because of the goodness they carried. That goodness is the essence of kindness, and it radiates in a way that draws people in. Kindness is magnetic because it creates safety. When you are around a kind person, you do not feel the need to be on guard. You do not feel judged, criticized, or diminished. Instead, you feel allowed to be yourself. That experience is rare in a culture where so many interactions are transactional, where people are often measuring what they can get rather than what they can give. A person who consistently chooses kindness is like a rare oasis, and others are instinctively drawn to that energy. They may not even be able to articulate why, but they feel it. It's the way your presence makes their shoulders relax, the way your smile tells them they don't have to pretend, the way your words lift rather than cut. That is what magnetism looks like. And kindness is not about being agreeable all the time. It is not about saying yes to everything or allowing yourself to be walked over. Real kindness is strength under control. It is the decision to treat others with dignity even when you have the power to do otherwise. There is nothing weak about that. In fact, it takes enormous confidence to choose gentleness in a world that often confuses cruelty with strength. And people notice. They notice when you handle conflict without tearing someone down. They notice when you offer forgiveness instead of revenge. They notice when you are generous without announcing it. Those moments leave a deep impression, And they make you incredibly attractive because you embody a quality that people long for: humanity at its best. Kindness is also contagious. When someone is kind to you, it awakens your own desire to be kind in return. That ripple effect means that your one act of kindness can spread far beyond what you ever imagined. And people are drawn to those who inspire them to be better. When someone leaves your presence wanting to love more, give more, or forgive more, they see you as someone luminous, someone radiant, someone whose attractiveness comes from the inside out. It's not about the perfection of your face or body. It's about the light you spark in others. There is also a quiet confidence in kindness. Many people withhold compliments because they are afraid of appearing insincere. Many withhold generosity because they fear running out. Many withhold encouragement because they fear someone else's success will diminish their own. But when you are kind, you reveal that you are not living from a place of scarcity. You are saying, "I can give because I know there is enough." That assurance is deeply attractive because it signals strength. People are drawn to those who are secure enough to lift others without needing to push themselves higher. One of the most magnetic qualities of kindness is that it makes people feel seen. So many of us walk through the world feeling invisible, our efforts unnoticed, our struggles hidden, our worth unacknowledged. When someone takes the time to look us in the eye, to really listen, to affirm something we have done, it changes everything. Suddenly, we feel visible. And the one who gave us that gift becomes unforgettable. That is what kindness does. It takes the ordinary moment and makes it sacred. It takes the overlooked and gives it value. And when you are the person who does that, people will always remember you with warmth. Kindness also shines in the way we handle differences. It is easy to be kind to those who think like us, live like us, or agree with us. The real test is whether we can be kind when differences create distance. To treat someone with dignity even when you disagree, to hold compassion for someone, even when you cannot understand their choices. That is an extraordinary kind of beauty. It says to the world, "I do not need to erase you to honor myself." And people are drawn to that kind of largeness of spirit. It communicates maturity, generosity, and peace. And those qualities are far more attractive than fleeting physical perfection. What's striking is that people who are naturally kind often underestimate their attractiveness. They dismiss their own impact, telling themselves, "I'm just being polite," or "It wasn't a big deal." But what they cannot see is the way their kindness is experienced by others. To them, it may feel small. To the one receiving it, it can feel monumental. A single word of encouragement at the right moment can change the course of someone's day, or even their life. And the one who gave it becomes etched into their memory as someone special, someone radiant, someone they are drawn to again and again. It's important to say that kindness is not about performance. If it is forced or used as a strategy for approval, people sense the difference. Real kindness flows from authenticity. It comes from being rooted in your own worth, so that giving to others is not a depletion, but an overflow. That's why it is so magnetic. It's not an act designed to impress. It's an expression of who you are. When people experience kindness that feels genuine, they relax, they feel safe, they trust. And trust is one of the most attractive qualities a person can inspire. So if you've ever wondered whether you are attractive, look beyond the mirror. Look at the way people gravitate to you, because you listen, because you smile, because you give without needing to be asked. Look at the way your presence softens tension, the way your words can shift the energy of a conversation, the way your patience can soothe someone else's fear. Those are not minor things. They are powerful signals of attractiveness. They are evidence that your kindness is magnetic, even if you don't always believe it. At the end of the day, beauty will fade, styles will change, accomplishments will be forgotten. but kindness leaves a legacy. It is the one quality that can make a stranger remember you years later, the one quality that can bind hearts across differences, the one quality that outlasts time itself. And when you live with kindness, you are already radiating a kind of beauty that no mirror can capture, but that everyone around you can feel. That is the kind of attractiveness that never diminishes, and it is already within you. There is something profoundly attractive about being in the presence of someone who is genuinely curious, someone who listens not just to reply, but to truly understand. In a world where so many conversations are filled with interruptions, quick judgments, and distracted glances at phones, the act of listening deeply has become almost revolutionary. When you encounter it, you notice. You feel the difference instantly. And it is in that difference that you realize curiosity and deep listening are not just polite social skills. They are magnetic forces that draw people in. Most of us have had the experience of talking to someone who is only half there. You begin sharing a story, and before you finish, they cut in with their own. You reveal something personal, and their eyes flicker to their screen or drift to the person behind you. Those interactions leave you feeling small, unimportant, invisible. Now contrast that with the rare experience of being with someone who is fully present. They look at you, not with impatience, but with genuine interest. They tilt their head, their body language open, their eyes steady, and you can almost feel them leaning into your words. They aren't racing ahead to what they'll say next. They're staying with you, step by step, thought by thought. That kind of presence is unforgettable. It makes you feel valued, and the one who gave you that gift becomes deeply attractive in your eyes. Curiosity is powerful because it shifts the focus away from self and toward others. When you meet someone who asks thoughtful questions, not because they're nosy, but because they sincerely want to know you, you feel special. You feel chosen. And isn't that what we all want at the core of our being? To feel chosen, seen, worthy of someone's time and attention. A curious person radiates that gift constantly. They aren't just filling silence with chatter. They're digging for meaning, for connection, for understanding. And that hunger to know others makes them magnetic because it reveals an expansive spirit, a willingness to step outside their own world and enter yours. The truth is, listening is not passive. It's one of the most active, courageous acts we can engage in. To listen deeply requires us to quiet our own ego, to put aside our need to be impressive, to resist the urge to fix, correct, or compare. It means surrendering the spotlight and allowing another person to stand in it fully. That humility is rare, and precisely because it is rare, it is irresistible. When someone listens to you in that way, you can't help but feel drawn to them. They become a safe place, someone you want to return to, not because of their appearance, but because of how they made you feel heard, understood, and valued. There is also a vulnerability in curiosity that is deeply attractive. To ask someone about their life, their dreams, their struggles requires openness. It requires admitting, I don't know everything, but I want to learn. That kind of humility disarms people. It breaks down walls and invites intimacy. We are drawn to those who are willing to learn from us, to those who honor our perspective enough to explore it. When someone shows curiosity about your life, you feel not only valued but trusted. And that trust creates a bond that physical beauty alone can never create. Deep listening goes beyond words. It notices tone, pauses, the spaces between sentences. It pays attention to what is not being said, the emotions under the surface. Imagine talking to someone who notices the hesitation in your voice and gently says, "It sounds like that was really hard for you." Or someone who catches the excitement in your eyes and reflects it back with a smile. That kind of awareness tells you that you are truly seen, not just heard. It is this kind of listening that becomes magnetic, because people are starving for it. In a noisy, distracted world, the one who listens deeply becomes like a beacon. It is worth saying that listening does not mean agreeing with everything. In fact, sometimes the most attractive quality is the ability to listen respectfully, even in disagreement. When someone can hold space for your perspective without rushing to argue or dismiss, you feel honored. They show that connection matters more than winning. That balance of strength and humility, of being firm in their own beliefs yet open to yours, is one of the most beautiful forms of attractiveness. It signals emotional maturity, a quality far more captivating than perfect skin or fashionable clothes. Curiosity is magnetic because it awakens stories. When someone asks, "What was that like for you?" or "How did you feel when that happened?" they invite you into storytelling. And when you tell your story, you feel alive, connected, human. The person who gave you that space becomes unforgettable, because they unlocked a part of you that longs to be expressed. You may not remember what they wore, but you will always remember the way they made you feel alive by drawing your story out of you. What's remarkable is that people who are naturally curious and good listeners often underestimate how attractive they are. They think, "I'm just quiet," or "I don't have much to say." But what they cannot see is that others are drawn to them precisely because of that quiet presence. People feel safe in their company because they know they will not be overshadowed or ignored. The listener becomes a magnet without even realizing it, simply by creating space for others to breathe, to exist, to share. There is a subtle confidence in listening, too. Insecure people often dominate conversations, filling silence because they fear insignificance. But confident people can hold silence. They can lean back and allow others to shine without feeling diminished. That calm assurance is what makes their curiosity so magnetic. It's not about proving themselves, it's about connecting. And that is irresistible. We often talk about beauty as though it can be captured in a mirror. But the truth is, some of the most beautiful people are those who cannot be photographed, because their beauty is not in their features, but in their presence. When someone listens to you with their whole heart, you feel beautiful in their presence. You feel like your life matters, and the one who gave you that experience becomes radiant in your eyes. So, when we speak of attractiveness, let us not reduce it to surface-level traits. Let us remember that the ability to listen deeply, to ask questions with genuine curiosity, to be fully present with another person, is one of the rarest and most magnetic qualities a human being can possess. You may never be able to see this in yourself when you look in the mirror, but others see it every time you give them your presence. They see it when you lean in, when you nod, when you remember something they said weeks ago. They feel it when you sit with them in silence, not rushing to fill the space, but allowing them to unfold at their own pace. And because this quality is so rare, it is deeply attractive. People will remember your face for a moment, but they will remember your listening for a lifetime. They will carry your curiosity with them long after the conversation is over. And that is why, even if you don't believe it, your ability to listen deeply and ask with genuine curiosity is one of the clearest signs of your attractiveness. It is a beauty that doesn't fade with time, a magnetism that grows stronger the more you practice it. And it is already within you. There is a kind of beauty that makeup cannot create, that filters cannot enhance, and that time cannot take away. It is the beauty of owning your story. Not the polished version, not the edited highlight reel, but the full truth of who you are. The triumphs and the mistakes, the joy and the heartbreak, the scars and the healing. When someone has the courage to own their story, to stand in their truth without apology, they radiate a light that no mirror could ever reflect. And that light is deeply attractive, even if they themselves don't see it. We live in a culture that tells us to hide. Hide the wrinkles. Hide the failures. hide the messy parts of life and replace them with shiny, curated versions. We are taught that if we are ever fully seen, flaws and all, people will turn away. But the reality is the opposite. What makes us magnetic is not the mask we wear, but the authenticity we reveal. When you own your story, when you no longer edit yourself to fit someone else's expectations, you become radiant in a way that no one can manufacture. People are drawn to that kind of honesty because it gives them permission to be honest too. Think about the people who have inspired you most. They were not the ones who pretended to be perfect. They were the ones who stood on a stage or sat across from you in a quiet moment and admitted, "I've struggled, I've failed, I've been broken, but I'm still here." There is nothing more compelling than that kind of honesty. It reaches into us and says, if they can own their story, maybe I can own mine too. That is why authenticity is so attractive. It does not just reveal the beauty in one person. It awakens beauty in everyone around them. Owning your story means embracing the parts you once tried to bury. Maybe you made mistakes that haunt you. Maybe you carry scars from relationships, from choices, from seasons of life you wish you could erase. But when you choose to stop hiding, when you allow those parts to exist as chapters of your life instead of stains, you step into freedom. And freedom is beautiful. It shows in the way you walk, in the way you smile, in the way you no longer shrink in shame. People notice that energy even if they can't name it. They feel the liberation in you, and they are drawn to it because they long for that same liberation themselves. It is also important to remember that vulnerability is not weakness. It takes incredible strength to say, "This is my story. I'm not perfect, but I am whole." That courage radiates beauty. People are attracted not to the idea of flawlessness, but to the reality of resilience. When you own your scars, you send a message. Life has not destroyed me. I am still standing. And there is nothing more magnetic than that. Perfection may impress for a moment, but resilience inspires for a lifetime. Another truth is that owning your story makes you trustworthy. When someone pretends to be perfect, we instinctively feel a distance. We know it isn't real, so we hold back. But when someone shows up authentically, flaws included, we trust them. We trust that they won't judge us for our imperfections because they have embraced their own. That kind of trust builds intimacy. And intimacy is where true attractiveness lies. People are not just drawn to those who look good. They are drawn to those with whom they feel safe enough to be real. Owning your story also means claiming the power in your uniqueness. We often spend so much energy trying to erase the parts of ourselves that don't fit a certain mold. Whether it's the way we look, the way we speak, or the paths we've walked. But those differences are what make us unforgettable. The quirks, the unusual experiences, the setbacks, all of these make you who you are. And when you choose to embrace them rather than hide them, you shine. The world is already full of people trying to fit into the same narrow box. The one who dares to live fully in their own story stands out. That is real beauty. And here's the paradox: many people who own their stories don't think of themselves as attractive. They look at their scars and see shame. They look at their mistakes and see failure. But others look at them and see courage, humanity, depth, and wisdom. They see a person who is real, and real is irresistible. Your flaws are not liabilities. They are the very things that make you human, relatable, and magnetic. The parts you've been most tempted to hide may be the very parts that make others feel closest to you. When you own your story, you also stop competing with others. You no longer measure yourself against someone else's highlight reel because you know your worth is not dependent on comparison. That groundedness is deeply attractive. It allows you to walk into a room without needing to prove yourself, without needing to shrink or boast. You are simply present, fully yourself. And that kind of presence creates a ripple effect. People breathe easier around you because they sense you are not wearing a mask. They are drawn to you because you invite them into authenticity as well. There is a beauty in scars, whether physical or emotional, because they tell a story of survival. When someone has lived through pain and chosen to rise, their face carries a depth that no makeup can create. Their eyes hold a wisdom that no youth can replicate. Their presence radiates a strength that no magazine cover can capture. That is the kind of beauty that only comes from owning your story. It cannot be bought, copied, or faked. It can only be lived. So when you doubt your attractiveness, remember this: the most magnetic thing you can do is show up as yourself, unedited. Not hiding the wrinkles, not erasing the failures, not covering the scars, but letting them exist as proof of your journey. Because the world doesn't fall in love with perfect. It falls in love with real. And the moment you embrace your story, you become a living invitation for others to embrace theirs. That is a beauty no mirror can measure, but everyone around you can feel. At the end of the day, attractiveness is not about flawless skin or perfect proportions. It's about humanity. It's about courage. It's about presence. And nothing embodies all three more than the act of owning your story. So, stand tall in the truth of who you are, not despite your flaws, but with them. They are not blemishes. They are brushstrokes on the masterpiece of your life. And when you dare to reveal that masterpiece, you radiate a kind of beauty that will never fade.